Balsamiq friends, my name is PICCIA and I am a professional designer. I have been in the industry for about 30 years and these days I specialize in user experience and also accessibility. This is the third video in the series where I am talking to you about the process that we are using to rebuild the site for the Galleria Nazionale dell'Umbria. In the first two videos, we talked about the research first. In the last one, we talked about the user personas. So at this point in the process, that's where we are ready to start from the sitemap and then move on to wireframes. Why do I start from the sitemap? Well, this is a content-led site, very much. We already have all the content. We need to rewrite the content to make it more accessible and to reshape the experience. So we've hired a UX writer and content designer, which is a fantastic thing that I recommend whenever you have the budget for it, do it. We're working on a sitemap, knowing exactly what the content clusters are and knowing exactly the mistakes that we made in the previous sitemap. If you look at the navigation here, you have home, gallery, visit, exhibitions, collection, listen, routes, contacts. I find this confusing. There are various words in this navigation that confuse me. I don't really understand what the difference between gallery and collection or even exhibitions is. So we knew already that there were language issues that we needed to solve, but also the way we organized our content. So this is now the time for me to do the site mapping. When the content writer is on board, we have done the research, developers and designers and content people in the room deciding on a site structure and starting to outline the user flows. Now, here's the sitemap in Balsamiq. One of the many things that I love about Balsamiq is that it's really easy to create alternate versions. So when I'll give you an example. So here's the sitemap. Here's the original sitemap that we did. Now it's super easy if I right click to either duplicate it or create an alternate version. So it's incredibly helpful to be able to do that. If every page on your sitemap actually has the same title as a wireframe, when you click on it and you highlight the sitemap, then it's really easy to either link individual pages or simply go down here and populate from project, which I love. It's so helpful. And I can also transform, if I want, the sitemap into a vertical one rather than a horizontal one. So I start from site mapping. That's the important thing for me because it's the information architecture is to me an essential step to have an overall view and an idea of how you're going to organize the information before you get into the individual wireframes. Again, even though there's no right or wrong thing to do this, I always do this with developers and designers in the room and when I'm lucky enough to have them with the content people. It's really the best because it's brilliant how everybody helps with their own expertise and with their way of seeing things. And this way you can avoid mistakes further down the line. So there's actually, and I mean, obviously site mapping is so closely related to navigation. You do the site mapping first and that allows you to then create the navigation. And on this topic, let me tell you that there's a great, really, really good navigation course in the Balsamiq Academy by Donna Spencer, and the title is How to Design Navigation for Large and Small Screens. And it will also give you help on how to approach the information architecture from site mapping onwards. So this is a sitemap that is both broad and a little bit deep, although sitemaps can go much deeper. But the thing is that I didn't want for it to go too deep because I'd rather build individual user journeys from this, which is another way in which Balsamiq helps me so much because I can use the sitemap tool to create user journeys, or I can do it in a different way if I prefer, but I really like the simplicity of it, that I can create a user journey first with a sitemap and then, if necessary, go into more detail. Now, we identified that we need to have a proper about page because in the current site, there is no about page. If you know about web design, you probably have heard before that the about page is the most visited page on any website, really. And marketers will explain to you that the about page is where you tell your users, the people that visit your site, what you do for them. It's not about all your features. It's not about your history. However, it's your opportunity to tell people that you care about them and what it is that you do for them. At the moment, we don't have this because if we go to the gallery page, which is the closest we have to an about page, it's already really confusing because I'm not really sure what the difference is between gallery, museum, and palace. It's very, very dense. It's very academic language and it tells just facts and data, and it doesn't really say why I should go visit this. What is there for me? What are you offering me? And so we started the sitemap with this in mind. Therefore, the first bit is going to be for you, what the gallery can do for you, followed obviously by the history. Then we'll have the visit page, so the practical information. Again, here, these will be internal links because one of our user personas will need that. Now, the what's on page is one of the knots that we have to solve. There is one fundamental problem here, and I'll talk to you about it in a bit, which is what Don Norma, who's one of the granddaddies of user experience, he wrote lots of very important books about user experience. So what he says is that every project has one fundamental problem to solve. It's the one problem that will solve all other problems. And whenever I build a site, I try and unearth what that one problem is, because usually that means that when you've sorted that out, you have sorted out absolutely everything else. In this case, the main problem is how to make sure that the vibrant life of this museum in real life is equally represented in the website. The What's on page is one of the places where this happens. We've decided that the first separation will be between exhibitions and events. Exhibitions are temporary exhibitions that can be from works that are already in the museum or external works. Events can be a lot of different events. In fact, I'm going to add one here. Events are individual events, but also the event archive, and the types of events are concert, conference, online events, and then let me just get into this because we need to add another one. Now, I love how easy it is to build a sitemap in Balsamiq. So you just do it with hyphens, and it's so easy. So I've got the home page, which is the mother of all pages. Then after that, any sub page to the home page has 2 hyphens. Any sub page to the 2 hyphened page, in this case I'm looking at about, has 3. I have 3 levels under what's on. With the events, you have individual event, concert, conference, online, and also events that happen every single day. I'm going to add 5 hyphens here, and they are guided visits. So now we'll go back here, back to the sitemap, and you see that here now I have guided visits. So this gives us various issues to resolve. How do we present the calendar? How do we resolve the differentiation between the fact that a concert is a one-time event on one date, whereas, and so is a conference, but there are other ones that happen all the time, like a guided visit will happen maybe 5 times a week or 5 times a day. So these are the things that we are resolving, and we're also making sure that the search function works really well. So these will not be sub pages. These will be tags, probably, so that we will be able to cluster the content by type of content. You will when you watch the wonderful course by Donna Spencer, you will understand that you can do your sitemaps by using a topic, by using a task, by using types, even geographical location and things like that. The important thing is that there's no right or wrong way of doing it, as Donna herself says. And here it's a bit mixed. Some of it is task, some of it is type. So it's a hybrid, which is a perfectly normal thing. Now, moving down, we get to the collection. The collection is the other thing that we are working very hard on. The collection is different from exhibitions, because the collection is what is there all the time. It's all the works that are exhibited, which is around 350. But this is something that the director is very proud of, because the digitized archive with a lot of recent and current research on each of the works is amazing, and it's flabbergasting how great it is. Now, so the individual work record has 2 levels of comprehension that we need to take into consideration, and various types of users that, just to simplify, we'll just mention 2. The first one is the scholar, the person who's an academic who needs to come here for their own research. And the second one is the normal user, like you and me, that just wants to go because they're interested and they want to find out more. The individual work record has to respond to both these things. So this is something else, that a conundrum that we needed to solve. And it has to do so in such a way that responds to our fundamental problem, which I said earlier, is how do we create a digital experience that enriches the live one while reflecting its vibrancy. So it's not just a matter of doing a brochure of the works. We need to make sure that we create one individual work entry that is light and breezy and informative, but also interesting to your average user who's not a scholar, who's not an academic, who's not an art historian. But also we need to offer the art historian what they're looking for, which is in-depth information with all the recent research and all the links that they need to any document or anything that's related to this work of art. So this is what we are working on at the moment, and I'll show you when we go more in depth into the wireframes. Now, what you see here is also, it's an hypothesis of tags that we're going to use, because we want people to be able to search, but also we want to be able to create itineraries, to create user journeys based on a certain tag. Then the education page will also be a dynamic page with services and games and quizzes. I am very much looking forward to that. And these games and quizzes will not by any means be limited to the educational page. We'll have them peppered all over the site, and I have great ideas for it. And then contact is a very important page that will be very different from what is there now, because we need to make sure that all staff is contactable. And if, for instance, you're a foreign museum or a curator needing to find out who to talk to because you need a loan, then it needs to be completely transparent. You need to know who to go to straight away. Support Us is another page that responds to the need of one of our user personas, which is the local staunch supporter who's supported the museum all their lives. They feel very much part of it, and they're given here an opportunity to join and to feel like they are needed by the museum and they are a part of it. There are many things to respond to here, and one of the very important things is the dissemination of culture in the most equal way as possible. So this is where we started from before we got into the wireframing, and I recommend that you start from this once you've done the research, because it will help you so much in identifying the parts that are needed. The content clusters here for us, we identified the static pages because those are the ones that we can template and that we can get done quicker, and identifying who's in charge of what content, because even when you have a UX writer, they have to know who to get information from. And this will already show you what issues you will have in actually building the user journeys, as I was saying. So I realized when I got here, I thought, okay, how am I going to guide people? Because yes, there will be a search function, but we need to have either containers or some way for people to find their way around if they have no idea where they are or what the museum is doing. In the next video, I am going to show you how we got into wireframing and our thought process as we start dealing with the individual pages and how we design them. Thank you so much. Bye.